Hello, my name is Ray Lock and I'm Chief Executive of the Forces in Mind Trust. We're a national lottery endowed trust running for 20 years up until November 2031. Our mission is to enable a successful, sustainable transition for all ex-service personnel and their families. When we were founded back in November 2011, one of the four main business strands that we were invited to deliver was the creation of a Veterans Research Foundation. After a few years, we concluded that the best way to meet this business strand was through the creation of a Veterans Research Hub. To do this, we partnered in 2014 with Lord Ashcroft, who was David Cameron's Transition and Veterans Commissioner, and also with Anglian Ruskin University, where incidentally Lord Ashcroft was Chancellor, but where there was a Veterans and Families Institute. Over the months and indeed years that followed, together we created the Veterans Research Hub, an online repository of all sorts of research, both full academic peer-reviewed and indeed grey literature, all around veterans. Back in September 2017, the Forces in Mind Trust wanted to expand this, and so we created the Forces in Mind Trust Research Centre, and we signed a contract with Anglian Ruskin University to deliver the Research Centre for a 5-year period. Now, this 5 years will come to an end in September 2022, but the Board of Forces in Mind Trust has decided that it wants to continue with the Research Centre and has therefore set aside funding for a further 5 years from September 2022. Now, what we want to do is to invite people to put forward proposals as to how they might deliver that Research Centre. In the request for expressions of interest, we're looking for the Research Centre to deliver 4 functions. The first one is the continuation of the Veterans and Families Research Hub itself. This online repository of evidence, grey, peer-reviewed, all types of evidence concerning the armed forces community. We wish to see it continue to grow and indeed to expand in ways that we may not yet have considered as we've taken on this project. We require the Research Centre to support the core Forces in Mind Trust work, our staff who are based in London, through helping them understand methodology of some of the applications we receive, or indeed the commissions that we set out, helping us understand better how projects can deliver a more impactful output, and even reviewing early drafts of reports to the point of peer reviewing where necessary. The third function is the production of specific research outputs, and these can come in many different forms, from a rapid evidence assessment through to perhaps a longer piece of literature review, where we would expect the Research Centre quickly to be able to react to either our requirements or the needs of a fellow charity within the Confederation of Service Charities, COBSIO, or indeed, if we so direct from media or from political leadership. The fourth aspect is the hosting every year of a conference which can be used to further our research aims, but also to bring together people who perhaps otherwise will not have had the opportunity to share their research plans or indeed their research outputs. Allied with this conference are our annual awards, and again the Research Centre project includes the delivery of the 2 major research awards every year. On top of that, I would say that the Research Centre is a resource for everybody interested in the armed forces community, and that can range from politicians through media through to individual charities, almost to the point of an individual ex-service person who needs to understand perhaps slightly better certain aspects of the armed forces community. In our request for expressions of interest, we laid out very clearly what we expect to achieve in our first 5 years, and we've given an indication of the outputs and the outcomes that we might expect to see over the next 5 years. But I should stress that we're very much looking to innovative ideas, to extensions of what has already been delivered, ultimately to deliver a research centre that is impactful, that absolutely represents value for money and delivers that which the board of Forces in Mind Trust is seeking to do. On the subject of money, it's pretty certain that by 2031 Forces in Mind Trust will cease to be funded under its current regime, and whilst it's not out of the question that we will continue beyond that, at the moment the board has no plans to do so. And so very much a key feature of this request for expressions of interest is the ability over the 5-year period for the successful bidder to demonstrate a move from being funded by the Forces in Mind Trust to generating its own income. In other words, to become a sustainable entity, because we do want our legacy to be a Forces in Mind Trust research centre. Of course, it probably won't be called that, but the functionality, the capability that the research centre has delivered so far in its 3.5-year life, we very much hope will continue through to 2027. If you are interested in responding to our request for expressions of interest, then the instructions are very clearly laid out on there, but it does require you to submit to us by midnight on Monday the 1st of March. The Forces in Mind Trust Research Centre has been one of the successes of Forces in Mind Trust short life so far. We very much look forward to continuing with the Research Centre over the next 5 years, starting in September 2022. And we very much welcome all applications from any type of organisation. And what we will be looking for is a bid which shows exciting potential. It shows how it can be delivered. It shows how it can meet those 4 major requirements that I've set out before. I do hope you will consider applying to produce this project.